Here with Eris Moon, and this is Jupiter hour, Mars day, and the moon is 9 degrees Leo. So, I'm getting funny energies today because, and while I upload a video, shout out to Ten Astrology, um, love her. So, while I upload a video, I'm getting two separate things that are not completely separate. One is some sort of a Neptunian thing, and I talked a lot about the Neptune 10th house, Neptune midheaven. I'm in my Neptune square, so there is this megalithic Neptune awareness, and the talisman that I did yesterday was with the ascendant very close to Neptune. I wasn't bringing out Neptune, I was bringing on Jupiter, but hey, that happened. So there is, with Neptune, and this is a Neptune story, because Neptune exposes the illusion and the dream and the truth within the dream and what's underneath the illusion. Why Neptune is longing, is both loss and grief, but also longing, miraculous healing. What's real, what's not, drug, prescribed or not, okay? And what I'm getting is that somebody might be disappointed with what image people are projecting on them, and they just said it as, well, I'm not that person, bye bye. But this is a Neptunian journey. And a Neptunian journey, you know, I remember when there was, I'm not going to bring that too much into the surface, but it was, around doing natal charts and so on and so forth. One of the certain of the charts that I would do, I would have a trajectory. There would be something, there would be a thread, there would be a reason that I was called to do that chart, and there was a complete journey. And I just immersed in that journey and allowing myself to, even as like if I was like codependent or whatnot, allowing myself to be in that journey where there is a conversation between my soul in that chart or in that soul. And I was like, okay, that's a journey. I'm learning, I'm growing. Um, I don't always have I don't always have all of my life together. And it's like, that's normal. And so here it feels like this is one of those Neptunian journeys, because it's not the person that you thought that I am. Okay, you see, it's kind of like, it's going about that rate of like, okay, you see everybody in a certain way. I'm not that person. And okay, like, but this is something that became a Neptunian journey. And this is why I saw something that it could be when the person was like just in his or her 20s, and then that person is like already 40 now, and they're still having this Neptunian journey. And this probably, it can be, people that have Neptune in the seventh house, going through their seventh house. People in their own Neptune square, Neptune sextile, or whatnot. Something Neptune, okay? Something Neptune is happening there. And the big misery, so to speak, was that the people that project this image onto the Neptune midheaven or the Neptune ascendant person here, when they are in this megalithic collapse, and it happened to me. It happened to me when I was young. I met a person, and there was something that triggered my own Neptune, and there was like this huge disappointment, this huge letdown. Um, but there was a kind of a different story. And here, what I noticed is that Neptunian story, because I was outside of the secret society, and my letdown was from someone who was inside of that secret society. And it was a complete journey because it was a complete collapse. Um, but here is people that are inside a certain society. And what's collapsing is not just their entire world, but also their wealth. My God, I need to give a shout out to Albina. Albina just talked about a person that left their family, wanted to get a job from a rich family, and her podcast is The Privileged Few. So, but this is exactly one of those stories where the person just wanted to get a jobby job, and it was actually their mother that blocked all of their ability to have income in the entire country. Kind of like a Me Too story, but with the mom and son, and it wasn't even about sexual harassment. They just wanted to get a job. They wanted to make their own self-made wealth, and oops, they were not able to have any income in the entire country. Um, so now, this type of Neptune story is where when the veil is lifting, it's like the collapse is of a society, of a secret society. Because what will happen if all the new money people or all the old money new generation people would go out to have a jobby job? They will be mistreated, they will be scolded, or there would be a family, a wealth family that created the wealth in a certain way that has to communicate with another wealth family and make sure that their children are not being trafficked. Because even if within the family they could be trafficked, but there was a particular bloodline, they were supposed to appease that particular billionaire and have merger and acquisition within the families. Now everything, all the programma is basically collapsed. Now, they can't say it to the child, but that would expose, because outside of the families, the wealth of the families will be exposed. What happened when people travel? Why does Israel try to block everyone from traveling outside of Israel? Because when Israelis travel, and Israelis love to travel, they see that, with all the respect to Zionism, if you can get better income, better school for your children, no, people are not all that anti-Semitic, and there are Israelis outside, then there must be a campaign. There must be something done. Because these people will not stay in a Hamaspartan perpetual war, keep sending their children to be kidnapped, to be killed, to be bombed, being seen as Nazis. Not anybody that does anything along peace talks is being threatened with their entire being, having phone tapped, whatnot. We're two generations. My mother wrote a book. I went to university and went to One Voice before it became whatever Nazification that happened to that organization. Okay? And this is exactly what happens to the people within the secret societies. They don't have and this is what happened to that Neptune person who was outside of secret society. Their souls were thirsty for something that this person had, but they couldn't control or conceptualize. And every attempt to control and conceptualize were creating megalithic breakage, also in the people around them. Because everybody tried to explain what these mafia people do. It was like, okay, let's put it in the light then. Let's put it in the light. And there was not long ago an article about Ukrainian men that talked about the torture and the rape that they went through by the Russians in that case. And again, it's not that the Ukrainians were saints. Again, it's just one perspective. And they talked about them surviving rape in war as men, in torture. Where Russian men could say, but you know what would they do to me if I would not do that? Oh, so that family is actually a mafia. And then and then if somebody goes out of that family trajectory, and that would mean for them losing their entire community. So there is a lot that is a lot of weight that is on that imagery and dream, and this affects also the art, because what the movie that people had in their head, it can even be Neptune is also erotic, so the erotic fantasy they had on someone, and someone was not compliant with that erotic fantasy, and they could not get them to comply with that because all the motives were around different. It's kind of like give different settings to the same erotic motive, and that erotic motive was not about something that the subject of the erotification could comply with. Now that exposes what happens when people project their erotic desire, project the films and movies they have in their psyche onto another, and that is mythical for them. When that image is destroyed, when that image is not as it is, when that person does not comply with the role that they wanted to project onto them, entire society breaks. Why you didn't want this man and 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 this man? Because all of them eroticized settings of something to do with whore. Whether they wanted to marry me or they wanted I don't know what. The women that they would be, even if people would be married, the women that they would be married, what was missing? Sex. So what does it mean? It means that neither me nor their spouse can, I'm sorry, orgasm with them. So where did they get to that? Why? What is this sexless society that prides itself in being sexually liberated? And now it exposed entire film industry, entire secret societies, entire group. Like this is also what happened with the Me Too, because people were projecting, they were doing horrification of whoever worked. Any woman that went out to work was considered a work bosses and colleagues. What is the term working lady? A woman that works. What could a woman be selling? What could a woman be working? What value could a woman be providing at work? All the values in the world, which is terrible. Why is she going to work? Why doesn't her husband support her? Okay, it's a worldview that shows how the projected films, the projected stories were of Neptunian. They were mythified. You know, just like an actor or an actress, they play a certain role, and usually in the beginning they can't really pick their role, or in that case there wasn't even an actor or actresses, there was a person, and then people projected certain things to them just by them being. Now Neptune can be like that because Neptune, there with Neptune particularly in the midheaven, or particularly with the first house, or particularly in the 10th house, a person is a walking myth and a walking mystery. And Neptune is also eroticism. My parent has Neptune in the 10th house, a woman in her 70s. She's like, what do people want from me? People even want from me? Because it's something that people project something into the Neptunian figure. It's like walking in front of a Fata Morgana and a person projects all of their desires into that person that may or may not be at all compatible with that projection. Now, with Neptune, people have to surrender the results, but here is something of they see that what they projected is the letdown is not just the letdown of, okay, so I cannot have this sexual fantasy with this person. No, it's the core of the trauma that created that fantasy was lying dormant on. It was activated by this person that they can't grasp, that they can't hold to. And it changes completely societal norms because it's just like that story that Albina shared of a friend of a rich family that goes out to get a jobby job. Nobody does that. And when they do, they try to do it in the same country even. That would expose a whole can of worms, you know, because everybody Nazi. But all the Nazis are fighting with each other. And the person is like, I'll just go get a job. I'll just go get a job. And they don't know, but each family is holding, you know, an endeavor. And even though as children they're exposed to that, they're like, well, I'll just get a job. At least my daughter will have a house. And my mother told me, at least my daughter will have a house. It's like, I'll get a job, I'll work, I'll buy a house. I didn't understand that everything in a workplace is set up for people to be enslaved and never have a chance to own land until the plague comes, of course. The real one, not the fake. And this was again because what's underneath that longing was something that, you know, if I go back to me being in 2007, outside of the secret society, I was like, wait a second. Neither me nor that person know love that is both erotic and romantic and friendship and loving and actually loving love. Where did we grow up? North Korea? Not me, not that person. No, or have any reference to love that loving. He lives with his parents. I lived with my parents back then. Okay. This was a complete and total collapse because they were constantly talking with me about relationships. It's like, why are they talking with me about relationships? Women, they want a man that can both be a good father and good in bed and good in this and good in that. And I'm like, don't men want that too? Like, that's women are like gods, they can have babies. What about women that don't know if they want to be mother or, you know? And there was the mythical, okay, was being fractured. But in this case, it was like, oh my gosh, then love, you know, if I study guitar, how to play guitar, of course my fingers will hurt and It would take time and so on. But love is also a skill, okay? But I know nothing about that. And everything that we were told were misguided. What they were told, what I was told, everything was misguided. And there was the ritual about the Madeleine, which was the satanic ritual to attack the light by Nazi group into that mix. So then everything was really, really collapsing, but it was also realizing that none of the therapists, none of the psychologists, and none of the psychiatrists knew what to do. Because there wasn't love in the world now. So traumatic and fragmented. And oh my gosh, this thing is kind of important. This thing called love is kind of important. Nobody knows how to have a love that is actually loving and preserve it. All because our economy was meant to fracture the ability to love. That's kind of huge. I think I will just write poetry. And then it happens in workplaces, and then it happens in academia, and then it happens in housing. So when the fracture of the image was fractured, it wasn't a tiny thing. It wasn't a tiny loss, a megalithic loss. It was the meat. Oh my God, I'm touching the meat. God, she's not at all like what I envisioned. Why is she let on? Because she's not a whore. She's not a prostitute. She's not. Would she at least play that in a scenario? No, she's not into that. Can't she just accommodate? She's looking for like a house that is without all that type of trafficking first, like the buses, you know, because those type of things are like they put it everywhere. In every workplace they try to traffic people. In every housing they try to traffic people. So she's not, no, she's not even willing anything. In fact, she asked me about death. Is it better? Should I die? Maybe I should just die because there's no place for love in this world? Is it because people don't want everybody around want her? But she doesn't want anybody. Why? I don't know. She wants a love that's actually loving. And they try to have the situation that she would only meet people from those societies that traffic children. And, you know, they build countries, but on trafficking. And, well, she doesn't never get to meet, they made sure that she will never get to meet people that could actually be compatible with her, and thinks it's better to die, perhaps because there's no place for love in that world. So she's not going to, no, she's not, wasn't she like the sacred whore, no, she's a human being, she just, but she looks like, there is no such thing as whore. This, just that they cast them into roles and traffic them and torture them. And then those people, even the people that they marry them, are being trafficked. So that's the Enlightenment. That's the Freemason. That's the people. That's the cool people that build like all the, yes. So when JFK, yes, he trafficked people. That was the interest of Russia. He met that interest with a couple of children. Well, we can't say it. Now, this is one story. Another story is that there is a certain juxtaposition. And this is juxtaposition where people can't they can't say this person are enemies, they can't say this person are friends. They can't say this together, they can't say even if those people are like into the same gender or not. They they can't say they're friends with benefits, they can't say they're in sugaring, they're in no kind of particular settings. None of them seems to be too upset about that. And none of them is too worried. It's like if it's a phase, then I'll grow and I'll be to the next phase, like to where I'm supposed to be. Like the world will fall apart. Okay, it should. And people have a mixture of being terrified and envious at that. Because there's something about this juxtaposition, just the fact that it's not, how should I say that? Like, there is no definition for that type of connection, but not as a gaslighting. It's just like two things were juxtaposed, and this very weird. Is it association or what? What is it even? Is not into any particular, but the fact that it exists this way is also not moving on to any settling into particular thing because the entire world needs to change. Are the people think like, oh, we don't have enough, but at least we can have off-grid cabin in the, oops, the Bolsheviks are arriving. But this kind of weird couple, not couple, sees that. And they're not settling into anything because if the Bolsheviks are arriving at the log cabins in Sweden, there's no point to not tend to the houses in the stealth wealth in Monaco. Where the problem began. And it kind of feels like the people that are around are both terrified, like this is really risky. This is really dangerous. That person could get killed being associated with that person. With that person, they could also be killed being associated with that person. They're not enemies, but they're not like what is going on there? And this terrifying thing exposes many things, particularly about this economy. And none of the settling things would settle this type of trajectory. You can't tell people to just live your life when you're about to invade their church or bomb it. Now, along with that danger and risk, But that it's not like people are craving that danger and risk. It's just that to do peace, one has to tend to those things. And the people around are like both trying to separate or trying to figure out what is it. It's kind of like, darling, baby, use your head. Well, I'm using my head, and my head says that this is where the decisions that are being made that are trying to enslave entire humanity because they are enslaved, and that thing needs to be talked about. Now, there can even be a situation where the people are looking at that, and because this holds a frequency, what does it mean? It means that there is something about this juxtaposition that everyone around has. These two have to face their own truth, fears, traumas, whatnot, and everyone around them as well. And so there are ripples across societies that try to tame. And the more they try to tame that, the more they trigger the Uranian, untamable aspects of that. And nobody can put that into the village. They're not a romantic couple. They're not friends with benefits. Heck, we're not even sure if they're into the same, like, what is going on with these two? And every time these two are juxtaposed somehow, and it's not like you see, no, it's just like that person, and there's something links to that person, there's something links to that person, and it's like there's just something going on there. Can we separate these? Well, they're not together. What's to separate? Can we bring these two together to see what it's about? Well, they currently are not. Can these two energies stop wrecking and messing the world? Uh, when they stop human trafficking, child abuse, and murdering people when they try to come out of secret societies or not go with the plan. Now is where people are some people are almost envious. And here's the thing, it's not like they're envious of something substantial, but these are two people that confronting their truths and of the world at the same time, and the fact that this world as itself is not livable. Whether because we don't really have funding for war, and the energy put to traffic all these people and control the entire earth would basically mean that there would not be funding to. Not only that, harvesting on these people's energy creates an enslavement of those who try to enslave to execute the most feminist agenda that the world hasn't even conceived. Who thought before the two world wars that women will have an own bank account? If a woman was rich, it was because she was born and she, through succession, became such cruel empress usually that she was considered, and even then she was called a man. But there is just something where, these energies that they could have a biggest fights, biggest jabs, biggest I don't know what, and then again they're talking to it. Then again they're laughing. Then again this, what's going on? And or somebody is kind of like, it can be that one or both of them cannot be talked to. Then it's like, okay, they meet with the other energy. It's like, oh, now everything falls into place. Well, that thing that falls into place is an entire empire made of human trafficking falling down to the ashes. Good morning. Like, if there is why wouldn't there be one on the economy of trafficking? Like, they expected them to be profitable, them to be exempt from losing their wealth to, but to who they lose their wealth to? Well, those children that are trying to get a job, and their even mothers try to keep them from having a job in the entire country. So they will never find out the secrets of the family that they weren't told, or leak them. That's saying the quiet part loud. And there is also something with the liar paradox. Is somebody being so transparent liar that, how should I say that? That are already the liar paradox. And it's not about lack of competence. It's about, hey, that secret society is crumbling with the lies that everybody had to hide of their own rape and being rapists, because those within the societies also had to be rapists. Now the thing, there could be another viewer of that energy, and that viewer could even have a nodal reversal connection with one or both of certain in secret societies. But that viewer, they used to be a part of such a duo, except that they tried to collapse it into established norms. And this is where it fell apart in the most gruesome way. Established norms can also be secret societies. As long as that wasn't, as long as, how should I say that? The journey of unraveling was continuing, then there would be this image of these people that they still kind of like put these people together. They couldn't, they didn't know what to make of these people. Are they together? Are they not together? Are they friends? Are they more? What is this doing with this? And so on. But then again, they're laughing and they're this and they're that. And that person tried to collapse that connection into a secret society form, into an established norm form, and lost everything. And now it's kind of like one part of this weird duo tries to figure out who were all these energies that were vying for the attention of this man or of this lady. What was the nature of each connection? Who is my Gegenüber? Okay, who is the opponent? And that energy that was trying to collapse things into established norms. They kind of try to understand one another. But what would not collapse it into established norms is revealed and unveiled for the everythingness of it. Particularly are the people who would be entrapped in a toxic relation with them. And they cannot project it anymore to that part or that person that body mythologizes, even a, but is not a part of that myth. Now everybody is worried because there are many secrets of many lineages. That are, it's entire social classes that are collapsing and crumbling. What happened when the Soviet Union fell and we're approaching such a transit? What is the Soviet Union? What fell there? An entire elite. And it's strange to say because they were supposed to be communist. But no, it was a secret oligarchy. It's an entire secret society that collapsed when the Soviet Union collapsed. Why in 1919, okay, they did a Spanish flu that killed particularly the young people between 20 and 40. Flu, it kills usually the elderly, people with compromised immune system, or very young people, very young babies. Because they really, 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 really tried to grasp into the power that those people of that age, they knew something and they weren't complying with something. They knew the world before youth organizations. They knew the world where they, as teenagers that would rebel their parents, would have a mind of their own and not succumb to the peer pressure dictated by youth organizations of to put someone that's a slightly bit older than them, 1 or 2 years older than them, and suddenly they're the leader. Now, I said something when Venus was in Libra, that there were the values that they are coming to the surface right now that are long forgotten, and now the scale is tipping. It's not the same world war. And what do I mean by that? People with the Gen Zers to just get any job, and they try to bring, oh, people, the students today, they work more hours. These are not Gen Zers. This is already the next generation with Pluto and Capricorn. The Pluto many hours because this is Capricorn. They have their dumb fuckery that they need to tend to and deal with, okay? And why they wanted to kill the younger generation, the Gen Zers? Because the Gen Zers would not be put into the pressure that previous generations would be put into. And people think, oh, it's the abundance. No, Gen Zers did not see abundance. They wanted to unalive themselves. So imagine what happens to an old money family with a Gen Zer child that says, oh, I will get a job, I will make a life, I'll make a living, I will do something meaningful for the world. Yeah, I can work at a corporation and then meantime work on something on my own, and then they run into the actual world when they're being told that yes, of course we have money because we worked hard, and nobody remembers the ancestor that actually worked hard unless they knew money. It's a myth, you know? It's like the Israelites, they were coming out of Egypt and they cried over the meats, the meat that they had being enslaved, and they didn't remember. And okay, how long ago was that? Quite a while. How do we even know they were Israelites? The Bible says so. Where's the book of Enoch? Where are the books? Where are the female writers in the Bible? There were not female writers. So we're missing an entire perspective of history, of our own lineage. Go watch Albina's video about how does she talk about the toxic parents that disown their children from the family wealth. Because to leave such a community, which is a secret society, it means that the person will no longer be able to summer with a friend somewhere. And that means an entire network of association lost also for future opportunities, but also emotional relation network. I have my lot of family conjoining Beta per se. Now, those who don't know about Beta per se, I don't come from a big high class, at least not in my immediate family. And those who know something about Beta per se knows that it is affiliated with, okay, it is affiliated with elite society. There's no other way to say that. And I'm not coming from that elite at all, but it is affiliated with elite society. And there are certain things where the place of relation is where is where those places, where's the moon, where's the lot of family of moon, not too far from Sirius, which is another, it's the bigger sun, it's another mythical planet. And a lot of family. Okay, and my fourth house is Gemini, so it means my Ra is not too far from Aldebaran, which means my cat was not too far from Antares. And I mean, have next to the galactic center. So there is a lot of things, places of relation have certain trajectory. And Eris, the planet Eris, for me is planet, not asteroid, going next to my ruler of fourth and seventh, and Mercury, which means there's no getting around that I will be surrounded by things to do with, particularly the cloning project, in the coming, at least until the 50s. There's no getting around that. And my moon squares Eris natally. So I come to revolutionize social norms in elite society. Revolutionizing social norms is almost always in elite society. The myth of grassroots is Bolsheviks funded by oil companies. Particular one that everybody knows. That's why the clenched fist. Because change doesn't come with clenched fist. Now, of course, this affects everyone around. Because it means that a person is being, first of all, isolated. I was doing a talisman, and there is this song of a lady, yes, it talks about this, the woman that sings, everybody loves women until a woman is doing better than you, and so on and so forth. And one of these, as right before I was doing the talisman, I heard, if she must be onto something. Okay, if she's so isolated, then she must be onto something. The people don't want her to be, and this is the Eris archetype, they don't want her to be a part of that table because she's gonna throw the golden apple to the fairest. And it's not about Aphrodite, it's about lineage. To the fairest. And this is about whether it's indigenous society, whether it's elite society. And there is elite society in every indigenous society. This lady gonna throw the golden apple, and we all know what ensues, the War of Troy. Because if in that table poison is served, now what do when an asteroid that denotes all of these things goes through one of your most significant planets? You can't get away, you can't duck in. you know. And this is exactly the situation. People say, okay, if I leave this secret society, if those that were born in there, if I leave this secret society, there's nowhere to go outside, there's no relation, there's no, everything will always be, and also I will meet that secret society everywhere. Not just as a hunting or as a tormenting place, but wherever I find relation. There's going to be something that's related to that. The only thing left is to create this social change within the elite societies, within those societies. And now people trying to find out who that person is within the myth, not because they are the Lulu, but because they're trying to figure to where is the myth changing, to where is the myth evolving. Secrets, elite societies operate by myth because it is predictive. The myth of Poseidon is predictive, so we see Poseidon is going into Eris, colonialism. I was digging half moons, and I had everybody in the astral mocking, what happened? And then I was shown half moons. So like Google half moons. Half moon was a colonial ship. I will do that with you again. Half. Now here's the thing, that things that are actually exciting. I'm like, hey, if the dead, do you remember? They say you were head of Vogue. Okay, do you remember anything from that trajectory? No, I thought this person is Henry VIII. Half moon. I was digging half moon to remineralize and reforest the Negev, and so everybody know Poseidon going into Eris. It's Vogue time. Half moon. There's a ship called a half moon. Halve man. Is the halve man? No, but it's called a half moon. Half moon ship. It is half moon. Dutch halve man. Dutch East India Company ship. Captained by Henry Hudson. Who now this usually are clone people, so who is Henry today? That sailed into New York Harbor in 1609, exploring the river that now bears his name. A replica of the ship was built. Replica? We also have replicas of people in Vogue. Was also built in 1989 and is now a working museum ship that sails the Hudson River, celebrating Dutch-American heritage. Original ship was destroyed sometimes after 16